crazy because like right when we started talking, Joel's entire family from Minnesota tried to FaceTime, and both of us got kicked off. And so what's really crazy is, you know, we don't spend lots of money like, you know, on nice dinners and shit. We spend money on internet connections and we have like 3 in this house, hard lines. One for my office, one for Joel's office, and one for the rest of the house. And the fact that he's in his office, I'm on the main floor, and neither one of us can stay connected is crazy in almost 21.
No, that sounds like some old-timey dial-up, you know, circa.
Totally. Like AOL.
Or even, what was it? Even before, back PineNet, when, you know, like you get a phone call and you get booted off. PineNet, something.
Totally. Oh my God, dude. So Joel and I are like, let's watch a Christmas movie. And I was like, let's watch Die Hard, because that totally counts as a Christmas movie. And so we started watching it. Came out in 1988. 88, dude. Like he rolls into LA. He's like smoking a cigarette, picking up his luggage at the airport, like inside. I was like, oh my God. Right. And like then they're doing all this like tech stuff to like get in, and like there's like this touchscreen moment, and it was like such a big deal in 88 that there was any such thing as touchscreen, right? So it's crazy.
Right.
Like, what we've seen in our lifetimes is crazy.
Touchscreen in 1990 or 1988. That oh man, well, I guess I'm glad you're back. Sorry that you were booted off, but having visited you in your house, I do know that you have dead zones, and it's not just the interwebs, it's phone as well. So, but we're here and we're back and we're rebooting.
I got my Christmas Hallmark shirt on because I'm a total cheeseball.
Yeah.
And the Lakers are playing tonight. I don't have a Laker hat, so I'm wearing my Dodger hat. So go Lakers, because that game starts at like 8:00 tonight my time, and I probably won't be awake.
Well, so. Yeah, you're not gonna make that. Are you gonna watch Wonder Woman?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna rewatch it because I got the special screener link, so I watched it earlier this week, and but I was watching it with a friend. I mean, like my roommate, and because that's what you do. But so anyway, and I'm excited to watch it by myself and just like take it in, because it's different than the first one, but I think the message is there and super important. So yeah, I'm excited to get your take, and then also I'm gonna pretend like I'm watching it with you guys, because didn't we all watch the first one together? We totally nerded out. I mean, like we were even watching all the behind the scenes and the extras and the stuff.
Totally.
So
totally. So funny. Oh my God, we have a comment from Stephanie Lombardo.
Oh, hey,
oh my God. That's super cool. That means she's seeing us right now.
Yeah, that's right.
What's up?
Because we're doing, as we said in our first video that failed epically, as we're talking about Katie Couric and Tech Checks and our lack of having quality technicians helping us with this, Quinn froze up and we had to reboot our podcast. But we wanted to say hello from Conversations from the Compound.
Yay!
This is our special, I was like, oh, you froze again. I was like, we're going to lose it. Maybe we'll keep this one a little shorter, because it seems like it might be that kind of day. But yeah, we're doing a special live edition of our podcast. How are you feeling about this?
And we're going to break it down, man. We're going to break some shit down.
But yeah, and you want to get into it? Or you want to, like talk about a little bit of, like your day? Like you guys, you're in New York, so you've already done your big breakfast and everything.
Yeah, we did. It was, honestly, I think it was the best I've had 3 Christmases without my parents, and this was the best one yet. And it was crazy, Wadooah. So the topic of our conversation today is grief. And it's crazy because last night, so the one family tradition that we have a lot, but like the one that's like super cornball is there's a book that my dad would read every Christmas Eve. And it's this story about this little bear family. And it's, it's corny, but like we read it every year. It's got the same jokes. My dad like tells the same jokes as he's doing it. And so last night we teed it up where my brother and Joel took turns reading different pages. And then like halfway through on the TV, we played a video from 5 years ago of my dad reading the story. And it was my first time seeing a video of my parents because I just haven't been able to like see them. And I was amazed at like how kind of awesome and terrible it was at the same time, but it's cool. I took a video of it. I almost sent it to you, but like there's part of my brain that's like, that didn't really happen because my parents were still on a cruise. So
right.
Why is that weird? But so anyways, it was just a nice big, just boom, just grief. So anyways, let's talk about this because.
So you're saying it dropped you into the grief, or you were straddling like a grief / happiness state?
Yeah, like I think, one of the things that I think if we back up a little bit and we just kind of talk about what grief is and the reason why we wanted to talk about it today. I saw a headline, I can't say I read the full article, that like the death rate of Americans in 2020 is one of the highest it's been ever, if not in a very long time. So we know for sure that over 300,000 families lost a loved one to COVID. And, and there's the death part of grief, but there's also people who lost jobs. There's people whose relationships fell apart, either in or out of, kind of COVID quarantine. So I think just to kind of level set, the grief that I'm going to talk about is death. And the grief that you're going to talk about is a different kind of death, but it's still very much grief. And so, we have kids that are grieving just the ability to go to school. We have people that are grieving the ability to go to their job. Homes have been lost, meals have been lost. So there's I think grief is really around loss. It's like I think the words in Wadooah, the research that you found, there's death, but there's also loss, end, change. And those all are very, very much kind of like in the same language of grief.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and going back to the other day of talking about why this episode, why now, you were talking about, not just wanting, it's not just talking about grief for the sake of grief and definitely bringing on the sadness during this time of the year, but just kind of acknowledging it. And, why don't you let me talk for you? You can just say it. You said it better. I'm paraphrasing here, but
I don't know. What did I say? I don't even know what I said.
Oh, well, at the end of the day, we came to this place of like just being able to talk about it, and like with any hurt, giving it air, giving it light, releasing the stigma around it, and creating community and connectivity, so that we can all move forward, especially. Like you were talking about just even this year with everything that's happened. With the global pandemic, as well as political cray-cray by number 45, and just a lot of conversations about race that have been needed, that we've been needing to have. I think I mentioned to you on more than one occasion this year that I think I've cried more, like really from all kinds of places. In this year, and
we all watched a man die. We all watched a man die on like live television. We all watched it. Yeah,
and but also just the weight of that acknowledgement by so many more people who weren't seeing it as clearly as they saw it play out. I can tell you, I was just in the grocery store doing a quick run, and I, you know, I ignored at least 3 people that were like, excuse me, miss, can you, do you work here? Because I'm just like,
where's the bathroom?
Still dealing with this crap, and it's just it's heavy, and you know, like there's still a lot of grief and trauma around that. So, yeah, I think it's. What did you say? Something in here about toilet paper? I think it's about toilet paper. At some point, you need to leave your bed and go get some.
Yes.
No matter what.
Okay. So yeah. So this is the. So again, I think wanting to talk about grief now is, you know, there's this fucking word that I hate called holiday cheer. And, you know, whenever I see someone like, let's spread some holiday cheer, I want to just like punch them in the face. Because there's just this expectation now more than ever that you're supposed to be smiling and happy and buying presents and, you know, doing all this stuff. And like that is, it's harder. It makes it even harder. So I think that, and also I'm coming off of, my best friend's dad died about a week ago. And, you know, talking to her about it, because, you know, the thing that happens right after any incident that causes grief is you're in this like state of shock. And so to talk to my friend who I've known since I was 11 about her dad, who was almost like my other dad, and to hear her in that shock that I'm so familiar with, the thing that I said to her was, I promise you, the shock wanes a little bit because at some point you're going to have to go buy toilet paper. And like, at some point you have to like, that human survival instinct kicks in enough to like get you out of bed to go buy toilet paper. Mm-hmm. Like when you've run out of everything that you could possibly use, you have to go get toilet paper. So like,
that's very true.
Yeah. So that's what was making me think about it is, you know, I remember people say things like, you know, it'll get better. But then every now and then you talk to somebody who's like, yeah, it doesn't get better. You just get better at living with it.
Right.
And so one of the things I wanted kind of you to talk about is how isolating grief can feel, but yet everyone in some way has experienced grief, particularly in this year. And so, anyways, I know that you know that you had listed kind of like the 7 stages of grief. So I thought maybe like we could go through those stages and, you know, in kind of a weird, funny way, like talk about whether or not we actually agree with the experts.
Right. and the expert disclaimer: we are not experts. We're not coming to you as mental health professionals. We're coming to you as real folk who've been in the shit of things and are, you know, just moving forward and keeping our head above water and trying to be real about it, you know, like coming at it from a very real and honest place. So going back to, the 7 stages, you just mentioned that Cindy was in the state, your friend was in a state of shock. And, you know, shock and denial is one of the first ones listed under the 7 stages of grief.
Do you ever think, maybe there's some people who've never left that stage?
Yeah.
You know, like, and I think about this when I think about, you know, your childhood or me losing my dad when I was 9. There, you know, when something terrible happens to you when you're young, like that numbness can be something that you seek out. You know, like some of the people that I've known in my life who have been, you know, sober or, you know, working some steps, there's been this like this attempt to find that numbness.
And stay
because
numb.
It's safe. It's a safe place to be in some ways. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I guess part of the work that I've done is to not associate with that numbness because it is such a familiar place, and it's and for, I think for a lot of people, especially without tools, without community, and just as part of that isolation, it's easier to stay in that place of just being numb and just moving through the world without feelings. And I would say that you know, that like I said, that's been a good chunk of my life and a good part of the work that I've been doing, so that I do move forward, because I do see other family members and even friends that have gone through things that are still in the same repeating loop. And I think that is definitely part of being stuck in the shock and denial stage.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, one of the notes I made was, you know, when I was shocked by my mother's death. It was totally unexpected, and my nervous system like just completely fell apart. I remember I got this like cystic acne. Like there would be, I mean, it was like nothing I'd ever experienced as a teenager. And I honestly like felt like I was going to basically vomit all the time. It was crazy, like the physical impact that it has. I mean, I just had no idea. I had no idea that like your body could respond to something emotional in such an incredibly powerful way. I don't think I was in my body for months.
Well, I think going back to just the definition of grief, you know, that it is a response to loss. And like you said, the loss of someone or something that has died, a bond or infection that was formed, houses, jobs, you know, way of life. And typically, you know, like the first thing that people think about when it comes to grief is the emotional response. But I mean, to your point, and, you know, like family, you know, like my mother had a very, you know, physical response to all the stress and the pain of her life. But it, you know, it can be physical, it can be cognitive, it can be behavioral, cultural, spiritual, and so many other things. So it's, you know, it's important, I think, as part of, you know, listening to those things in our body. And you know, I really want to get this, I think it's a book that Mama Hayes has, that, you know, like different times we'll talk about, you know, different ailments if I'm experiencing or somebody else in the family, and then she'll look in the book and she's like, oh, that is a, you know, this says, you know, according to the book, it's a response to this response, you know, this thing that's going on in the world. And it's interesting. Oh, and all, I'm not describing it well, so we'll probably have to have Mama Hayes on here so she can talk about that. But you know, it is when I think that's also part of that isolation where we're just like, okay, I'm sad and that's it, and you just deal with the sadness, but you know, like we have other responses as well.
Yeah, I mean, one of the, you know, cheesy kind of therapy words that we use a lot is holding space. And dude, when you're in grief, how are you supposed to hold space for anyone at all, let alone like yourself, right? And I think that's where, you know, the second stage, which is pain and guilt. And I mean, I think the pain of grief is something unlike, I mean, I've never had the shit beat out of me physically, but it felt a lot like that. Like, I know we've talked about how my very first tattoo, I was like, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. And the next tattoos that I got after my parents passed away were like, I mean, it was painful, but it was like a different level. Like, I don't know. I can run twice, sometimes 3 times further than I've ever run in my life. And I know I'm in pain, but I disassociate from it in a way. I don't know. It like, the pain of that has changed me. Like, I feel like on a molecular level, I was changed, and I experienced physical pain in a very, very different way.
Well, it's funny you say that. You know, because again, going back to that numbness and just the way that I grew up. I think you would even call me out sometimes, like with nicks or bruises that I have on me, and I don't even know how I got them. You know, like just because I'm just so used to just taking it and just moving through the world that I'm like, yeah, that's not cute. I don't even know how I got that. You know, and you know, because I disassociate that. You know, I don't feel it. It's just a part of me, and yeah, I mean, I totally get that. And then, you know.
And also, like, we are going to get to some positive stuff. So, like, as we're talking through the 7 stages of grief, we actually have we found some kind of cool coping suggestions. But I do think it's important to just kind of talk about these stages, right? Because you got to go through it to get on the other side. It's true. Like, people say you have to just go through it. And I was like, I what the fuck? Anyways, stage number 3. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, no. I was going to say, I mean, and it does, I would say it wraps in stage number 3, which is the anger and the bargaining, also with the guilt. Because like you were saying, you just said, like, how can you hold grief? I mean, how can you hold space for anybody when you're in that grief place? And I think, you know, going back to, you know, your parents passing, you know, which I, you know, clearly had a lot of feelings around. You guys are my friends who are family. But I was also going through some things of my own and at the time. And so we were both in these grief places, trying to be, you know, like, but not able to show up as the friends that we typically do. And that created a whole other, you know, loss for, can't believe it was a year. You know, this is pretty much like a year that you weren't in my world. We weren't a part of each other's lives as we were both working out separately, you know, our grief. I mean, like, that was just like that was the worst blow. Like, that was, I mean, like, on top of everything else is like to not, you know, not have my friend and not be able to show up as my friend, but, you know, being angry about things, feeling guilty about things, you know, and just trying to figure it out. Do you freeze?
No.
Oh.
No, I think I'd like to see that, like, my sense of anger went away, but it's never gone away. Like, I've had some level of anger since I was a kid. And, you know, I don't know. I have to be really careful about how that anger shows up, because it can be a pretty destructive thing. And I get that it's a stage of grief, but I do think that anger is something that we hold on to. I think it's part of being afraid. So yeah. Fear and anger to me are very attached. But the bargaining part is interesting, because I do think, like, on some level our brain starts to concoct these kind of safety zones or safe places where it's like, well, and which there's still in my brain, my brother and I still believe that our parents are on a cruise, and, like, we just, you know, they're just up in Alaska and we just can't get them live on the phone. So there is still this, maybe it's denial, maybe it's bargaining, but I think I still hold on to anger and bargaining. I wish I could say it was just a stage, but it's a stage I haven't really left. I'm totally honest.
It's like the whole what was his name? Like, I forget which Avengers movie that was, but he finally just is like, the trick is I'm always angry. You know, it's like that thing that's just right.
Oh my God, I just made an Avengers reference. That is why I love you so much.
Nerd alert.
That was like a huge moment for me when he said that.
Yeah.
That I'm always angry, and I was like, oh my God, I'm home.
I mean, I was like, well, that's true. I mean, because I think I maintain, or like, at least on the surface, but I mean, like, if I really went there, there's still some anger. I mean, like you said, the anger and the sadness, the two sides of the same coin there. And I mean, like, I was watching the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion episode, or reunion special, which it's on HBO Max, and so they were just going through some different clips, and one of the clips, I mean, so the point is that there's some scenes of some movies or some TV shows that if they get too close, if they touch on something, so in that episode, you know, it was like one of the first the series, what was it, first seasons, and Will's dad comes back,
oh.
and And so like his dad kind of apps with him a little bit and bounces back out of his life just as he's starting to like trust him, acknowledge, build that bond back. And so Will and Uncle Phil have this moment, and Will is just crying. He's like, why did my dad, why didn't he love me? And every single time, I mean, I can't even, it's hard for me to say that, because it's just like, I associate, I feel that connection. And so if there's any flavor of any of that in any movies, shows, or songs, it just comes right out of me.
I believe it.
Like the Incredible Hulk. I mean, like it'll, but in a sad way.
Well, speaking of sadness, the next stage is depression. And
hi, Jeffrey.
There's a little bit of that. Hi, Jeffrey. There's a little bit of just the powerlessness, when you've done all the bargaining and you realize this is how it is. And I remember, going to my therapist and asking her, like, hey, am I in depression? Like, do I need medication? Which I totally believe in if you are living with depression. And she said, can you get out of bed? And I said, yeah. And that to her was the marker of whether or not I was like clinically depressed. Now, I know it's different for every person, but I did think that was interesting, because I will say every morning I wonder if I'm going to be able to get out of bed, and I do. So that I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, especially like you're saying, everybody's different. And, again, I think that some people can stay, I mean, like it's harder for them to work out of the depression stage, and especially because it does start to roll up into some of those other stages. So it's not even like a clearly defined, it's, you can be depressed and still be angry and still feel, you know what I mean? And I know, I know when I get into those places, I just don't fight it. I just am like, this, I'm just going to do this until I feel better. It's kind of just like vomiting, like you always feel better on the other side. You gotta go through the nausea and all the ick and just the ugliness of the wretched, like just that very humanizing experience. But on the other side, you're always like, okay. And I don't feel like that anymore. So I at least feel better, and I got some, I got that other stuff out.
And you know what? Maybe that is where. So the next stage is called the upward turn. And again, when I read that, I wanted to punch myself in the face and just call total bullshit on this stage. But that said, kind of given how you explained it, I think you're right. I think, there are these moments where like maybe just you're exhausted because you've had so many feelings that a little bit of light does come through. It's when you're done vomiting and you're done vomiting and you're like, okay, I felt so terrible that now I don't feel as terrible, and maybe that's not so bad, right?
Right. I mean, and you feel lighter, like you literally, I mean, like in addition to not feeling terrible, it's like you felt the stuff that wasn't working within your body physically, and now it's no longer there. So totally. I don't fight it. And, this upward turn, I'm not as familiar with that, but I do know that I'm like, I have no comments for this. I was like, yeah.
I was like, really? Upward turn? Because when I think of you, upward turn.
Yeah, I'm like, really? Who came up with that? I think maybe they're just trying to make the list into 7. I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah.
But just being human and just knowing, like I got some shit going on right now, and I don't feel like walking on a rainbow and walking on sunshine. Whoa. It's okay. And I'm not going to beat myself up about not being up here, or being down here. I'm just gonna ride it out. And then at some point I do get, like I said, like vomiting, you do want to get on the other side. You get on and you're happy to be on the other side. At least for me. I know, like you were saying before, And, like, as we know, everybody's different. And so whatever it takes, therapy, if it's reaching out to, to people who you're close with, getting outside, whatever that is, just do that for you, medication, do that for yourself.
Exactly. And I think that, we're kind of I think the next stage is called reconstruction and working through, right? So what is your life like without this person, this thing that you are attached to? And because it may look nothing like how it was before, which I would say is something that you and I have spent quite a bit of time doing.
What are you talking about?
Construction. See, you have a new apartment, right? Well, new, like, refresh space,
Yeah.
a new car that has no connection to heartbreak, which I think is awesome. And new kind of work creative space, right? Like, I don't know. I really believe that your energy kind of not pushing, but like moving through, moving through the pattern of relationships, and grieving the, like, kind of the familiarity of that dynamic has really opened you up in a way creatively that's absolutely beautiful to see.
Oh, thank you. Not to go. Okay, we'll move away from the vomit, but it's cleaning out the closet, and just the house in general, making room for, getting rid of the things that no longer serve me, and having the space to take in new things, and also, continuing to sit with the anger and all these other pieces, but not having any of those things define me or drive my daily experience, and just, being open in general to what's next. I mean, even in, after this year, like in June, there was like 2 or 3 weeks that I just felt debilitated, and you could just feel the pull back into this dark space. And so, now, even though, we're in even more lockdown than we have been all year, here in California, we just, I think yesterday, surpassed 2 million cases of COVID. So we get the banner for the state with the most cases. And if you want to get into more of the, and the job laws, and the, like, and families are struggling, yes, all those things are happening, then, but we move forward, and, and we show up for each other, and that's how we get on the other side.
Amen. Which leads us to lucky number 7. That stage is called acceptance and hope. And I think in my notes to myself, I was like, I will never accept it.
Yeah,
I was also very grumpy when I was going through these notes. It's Christmas morning and I'm waking up without my parents, so I was a little bitter. But I do think that, for me, it's waking up Christmas morning, and while I don't have my parents, I do get up and cook for my family, my brother and his family, his, beautiful new baby. So I feel like, God takes away and God gives. And so, I can understand that now, like holding my niece and her, like, smiling and giggling, and I think, okay, like, this can fill some of that gargantuan hole in my soul.
Okay. Well, I try to get to the deconstructed acceptance of this is real. I mean, like, I'm not going to have this other life that, or, this other childhood, that's just not the reality. And so I accept it, not, like, as a good or a bad, but it's just like, it is, period. Like, this is what's happening. I try to lean into the hope, or work to lean into the hope of it. Although, you know, like I had to. I just, to me, it was like, if I can get through this, all of this, there's good stuff on the other side. There's good stuff out there, and I don't, you know, like this is, you know, I don't have to accept that this is my fate and the way that I'm going to live my life going forward. So yeah, maybe, you know, like walking on eggshells on the acceptance part, but definitely, you know, embracing it.
I think that's one of the reasons why I love you so much, is because that is built into your soul, and it's awesome. Okay, so those are the 7 stages, and man, they're tough. They are tough. You know, there are a couple resources. If you've been listening to us talk and, you know, you're getting triggered and you're having some feelings, there's a national helpline called it's 1-800-662-HELP, which is 1-800-662-4357. It's a national hotline. It's free, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So here on Christmas, they are open. There's both English and Spanish speaking members who are there for you if you're facing mental and or substance abuse issues. They can provide referrals, support groups. And I mean, I can tell you that one of the things that I did find some comfort in grieving is being with other people who are grieving, because you're kind of a freak show, and there's language that you have that other people go, oh yeah, I get that. And that kind of helps when, there's an amazing podcast that I started listening to called Terrible, Thanks for Asking. And the title of it alone is rad, because people say to you, how are you? And you just want to be like, I'm fucking terrible. Thanks for asking, right? So anyways, so that is a helpline. Also, like, I don't know, Deb, if you got to see this, but I found this crisis network website. And it basically was like some tools for helping yourself through grief. So I'd love to know what you think of these, Wadooah. So it starts with like basic health, like just remember to eat, remember to sleep. If you can get some fresh air and get a walk. They suggest meditation, which again makes me want to punch myself in the face, but if it works for you, that's great. It also has an interesting idea, which is go to your doctor. Like if you haven't had a physical in a while, it might be a good time to go and check in with your doctor, get some blood work done. It's a safe space where you can, you know, speak about how you're feeling physically and emotionally. What do you think about those, Deb?
I love them. I mean, because I mean that's part of the self-care that we've talked about just in this episode alone. I think that's spot on, and especially, you know, like I hadn't really thought about the going to the doctor part, but I mean, like but as we were talking about earlier, that those things are not separate, you know, and I think that too often, especially as in Western medicine, it's like you feel bad and it's one thing. There's no interconnectivity across our health, and so I think that one. I mean, I wouldn't have thought about that one. So I think that's a really good one. And if you can, you know, seek out different opinions around your health, totally. So that, you know, so you're getting a complete picture, because if you're solving for one piece of your body, you're going to solve for the other piece too.
The other thing that they talk about is outside support, and there was a bullet here that I thought was really interesting, which is letting your friends and other family members know about your emotional and physical needs, which I know for you and I know for me is really hard. Like, it's like if you can't even figure out what you want or need, how are you supposed to be able to communicate that? But then I was thinking, like, the flip side of that is And coming back to what you and I went through in our friendship, like I feel like there's a level of honesty and directness that we have now that maybe we just didn't have before, because we both have been through so much that, like, you know, if I don't feel weird saying, hey man, I really need to spend some time with you. Like, I know it's COVID, but like I need us to go like walk on a beach together. Because like it's almost Christmas and I don't know how I'm gonna see it.
And last Christmas, or on the other side of around the holidays last year, I was with you guys.
Yes,
you know, like
exactly. So, you know, so I think that I feel a lot more comfortable asking you for what I need as my friend. And I feel like it's kind of cleaner between us, which is great. Like, I used to worry, you know, was I asking for too much? Because, like, you know, you have a life. But now I don't care. Like, I'm more just like, hey man, this is what I need. If we can make it happen, awesome. If we can't, that's cool too. But like, I need to see your face. I need to have time with you. So that has been good.
That's part of that vomiting we had to do. You know, like we were all sick to our stomach. You know, like I mean, I agree. I feel, you know, even though I wouldn't wish it on anybody, like that we've come out stronger on the other side of it, and yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, I want you to always be. I want you to always be that honest and raw with me and real. Because if not you, then who?
Yeah. You know, I also did that where I crashed with, so one of our commenters, Stephanie, you know, she's someone that, you know, I've known since I was 19. And, you know, we have been through a lot of crazy shit together. And so I got to see her when we went to pick up our new puppy, who I would show you right now, but she's been basically sleeping this whole time. But to get to see her, you know, it was awesome, because like I got to see you. And I know this is terrible in COVID, but like there was testing, we were safe.
Yeah, we were like rapid test 3 times a day or something like that.
So you know, getting to see you in a safe way, getting to see Stephanie in a safe way, I do think those two things made it a lot more possible for me to navigate the day today.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, because it is those things that we put into place to help us. You know, it is like taking the walk outside. You know, like this is an extension of that. I mean, like however, you know, the little tricks and you know, treats that we have to plant along the way for ourselves to keep us moving forward. You know, that's the most important thing. And just real quick before we just in terms of, I wanted to toss out one additional resource, and we'll drop the links to these places in as well. But it's a site called ostem.org, and it's a conglomeration, or no, I shouldn't say. It's a roll up of different LGBTQ crisis hotlines and services. OSTEM is committed to supporting members across all spectrums of diversity. They believe that our LGBTQIA+ community faces mental health conditions, just like the rest of the population. However, LGBTQIA people may experience more negative mental health outcomes due to prejudice and other biases. So this site includes, links to places like Trevor Project, which serves the youth in terms of giving them support. But it also includes an organization called SAGE, which is for the elder queers, of which I'm approaching that age, because just to provide community and resources, because we don't all have the same access to families or to biological families or those types of support systems. So that's why leaning on people like my good friend Cutie as my family of choice, and having that support and that community is important. But outside of that, there are other places. So we'll include that link as well.
Great. I mean, those were kind of the main takeaways I had from the crisis site that I thought we should talk about.
Yeah. on the half. I mean, like before, like, so how do you shift it so we end up, like now well, I mean, like I think we evened it out with the resources. Like, what are you hopeful about for the next couple weeks? I mean, like looking at the end of 2020, going into 2021.
Oh, me? Let's see. I know this sounds totally weird, but I'm in a real intense like God space right now. Um, and it's kind of tied into trying to design a tattoo. Mainly, and I know you know this, like my faith is a huge part of me and who I am. And not being able to go to church has been really hard. And like watching online mass is okay, but like
It's not the
it's not the
same.
same. Like I'm Catholic, man. Like I have not taken the body of Christ since March. And I am a believer. I believe in the mass. I think it's a miracle. I believe that wafer turns into the body of Christ. I know that might be weird, but like for me,
This is our podcast. Just
yeah,
say whatever you want.
Like, it is a huge part of like my life experience. And so so I actually think like it's time to start like reading the Bible, especially like I want to I have a great book of like Jesus stories, like a Bible study book. But actually just got this book. It's like it's more about the history in the Bible and lessons in kind of the repeated histories of the Old Testament and the New Testament. And I just feel like I'm getting called to the Bible. I know that's weird because like there's so much controversy about the Bible. I mean I went to a Jesuit university. I know Constantinople. I know like all that, but I do feel like there are things that are in it that I need to hear right now. That's one of the things that I love about going to mass is because there are the readings and the discussion of those readings, and intellectually I love that, plus the Eucharist. So I'm really hungry for that emotionally, physically, for reconnecting with God. One of the things that's been amazing is we found an incredible church about 25-30 minutes away that has an outdoor garden, which allows me the space to light candles and pray and and have time with God in a structured kind of way that I love. So that's what gives me hope is there's like this real like welling in me of that connection.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, this is self-care. Like, it's so important, and like I think we said, like all of this is personal, like the way that we deal and seek out things. It's what works for us. And
how about you, buddy?
I know, as you were saying that, I was just like, well, I feel like
Hope stream.
Yeah, I am leaning into a little bit more spirituality. And not necessarily in a particular religion, organized sort of type of religion, but I do see and feel the connection that we have with the universe, the world around us, and as part of my continuing to work on being open, just opening myself up more to that, and I feel like that. Understanding and that acceptance into my life is opening up additional goodness and expanding my mind in different ways. So like you, I've been seeking that out. Maybe, I mean, like not as, it's on my own, but it's, I'm happy with it and it's working for me. And, in just another pure, just want to get out of the house and see things and travel. I look forward to, actually putting my car on the road. Yeah, some kind of road trip for this car, because my car that I had for 10 years that I absolutely love died at the beginning of December. And so I had to buy a new used car. And I actually drove for the first time in the rain yesterday because we finally got a little rain. So I was just like, look at me driving in the rain. And also yesterday was the first time I filled up the gas tanks. So, I mean, like here we are, the 24th of December. I mean, it wasn't even completely empty. It was just like a quarter of a tank, but I just being prepared for the zombie apocalypse. I don't like to let it drop past the halfway mark too much. So I filled it up and I was like, okay, that's a first after 20 something days of having this vehicle. So I look forward to, like driving it and just like getting out. Like that's part of the self-care and that hope and the optimism that we're not going to be as locked down as we have been. And I'm just excited about some of these creative projects and getting to, expand my expertise and my experiences and just seeing what's possible and what other kind of goodness I can bring to the world out of some of them and more of them.
I'm excited for
that's my.
I'm excited for the book club. I'm excited for what is naturally going to evolve from this group of people as we start sharing kind of what we need. I love the retailers that you found. I mean, I literally have 10 cases of the Wonder 4-packs that I have been giving for Christmas. It's an excellent Christmas gift because it's like the kind of little tester pack.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that I'm going to be really excited to talk about the year in the compound for our Christmas 2021.
Yes.
When we're hopefully streaming together in the same place.
I'm going to put that intention out there and thank you for bringing. It's funny. I was going to start with definitely was thinking about the compound earlier, and just how it's just given me so much life, and I love seeing people feeling connected and not being afraid to reach out across lines, even if they have never met in person, don't even know who they are, but are just all part of this group that they feel safe and excited to be, to see. So I'm super thankful for that. And I'm just continuing to work on seeing that goodness grow and evolve into so much more. So stay tuned. And this is part of it.
Yeah, and doing more of these because I know we kind of fall was tough. I will own that because November came and just looking down the barrel of a holiday season without my parents was just overwhelming, and I just completely shut down. So, but I do think that trying to do this on a more regular basis would be awesome.
Well, we won't try. We do or do not, as Yoda said. There is no try.
We will.
And no stress. I mean, because life this year has been a crazy one, and so I have just been. Bailey's gonna make a guest appearance. Come on, dude. Just to be kind to ourselves and just whatever happens, great. If it doesn't happen, okay, life is short. We're doing what we can. And I was a little distracted at the beginning of November, just kind of, I think a lot of people were looking at what's going on with our, if we were going to have an incoming, some kind of transition from this political hell that we've been in, watching with bated breath. And even, a week after days after the election happened, still being kind of so I mean, it would have, it wouldn't have come from a pure space. So I'm okay. We're gonna pick it up. We got some episodes. We'll get some more episodes going in the new year. I'm super excited about it, and I just love you so much for being in my life.
I love you too,
being my friend.
I love you, Bailey.
I'm glad we got to spend some holiday time together, even virtually. Even though we're not together in person. I miss your face. I miss your family.
Oh my
give
God,
them all hugs and kisses.
Thank you so much, dude. So much. Anyway, anti-dubs. I think that's a wrap.
I think so.
Bailey and I live conversations from the compound.
Yeah, maybe we'll do more of these.
Jeff Davis and Lombardo for
hanging out,
for hanging with us.
Yeah, we'll do more of these. Bailey and I look forward to meeting your new little bundle on the other side of this. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and great holiday weekend. And yeah, good. I love you.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.